Hi guys, Asmo here, and today I have for you a guide on how to level Toxic Rain Champion. A lot of people asked for this because Champion is not something that you usually level or play Toxic Rain with. It's a bit tricky because Duelist does not get all of the support and active skill gems that you would usually want for leveling with Toxic Rain or Caustic Arrow. But don't worry, in this guide I'm going to tell you everything you need to do from Act 1 to Act 4, where we are actually going to transition into the Toxic Rain Caustic Arrow playstyle. I'm going to talk about all of the sockets and gems that you need, all of the currency that is required, all of the supporting items that you're gonna have to pick up in order to progress as smoothly and as quickly as possible. I also recommend having a loot filter set up specifically for this. I have made a loot filter for this run that shows all of the bases, all of the currencies, all of the sockets at all the appropriate levels with the sound and visual alerts. So you can get that from my Patreon if you're interested, but you can also make your own. You just listen to all of the things that I mentioned in this video, write them down, put them in your loot filter, and you're gonna have a much smoother and quicker run. And you're gonna notice that you basically have more currency generated from just picking up items that otherwise you would have to buy. So what do you need to start with? You need to pick up at least a green-red linked together and a two-handed sword. That is the bare minimum. But ideally, you're looking for red sockets linked together. You're looking for red sockets linked together. You're looking for movement speed boots, and you're looking for the two-handed sword. Usually, I have like a couple of wisdom scrolls left over, and I buy a rustic sash for that as well. So just pick a rustic sash that has the highest roll in the vendor, and this is gonna give you some extra damage that is definitely gonna help you through the early progression. And you're gonna have the splitting steel linked together with chance to bleed support, which is gonna give you a chance to bleed and also some extra flat damage. Let me talk a little bit about the passive skill tree progression before we get into more of the gameplay, because passive skill tree is gonna change, but it's gonna be very similar next league. For now, we don't have the new skill tree yet, so I'm just basically gonna show you what we're doing now, and you can practice with this, and it's gonna be very similar principle next league. So what we're doing, we're picking the attack speed first, going through here until Art of the Gladiator. From this point on, we can equip chest piece, and it's not gonna slow us down. We're picking up Fury Bolts. You can pick up projectile damage. This is what you want if you're looking for something that will carry you through a little bit, because this will apply to both skills. It will apply to the splitting steel and shattering steel, which you are leveling with early on, and it will also increase the damage of your caustic arrow and toxic rain because they scale with projectile damage as well. So you want to pick up this, then you want to go to pick up extra damage here, the destroyer for increased physical damage with two-handed weapons. You're going to be using two-handed weapons all the way until Act 4, so this is something that you pick up, and you can easily respec these 2 points later for free, just for the quests that you are normally going to be completing. After that, if you feel like you're lacking damage at any point with the shattering steel, you're going to be able to pick up projectile damage nodes. I picked them up at the start, but then I realized I'm doing such insane damage that it is totally not necessary, and I can just rush to the right, rush through this, go here and straight for Pierce. I'm going straight for Pierce as soon as possible. This will increase my clear. It is not only going to help the shattering steel, but it is also going to help the caustic arrow hit another pack, which basically can go through a pack and hit the another one, just increasing the AoE. After that, you want to make sure that you're preparing for the transition for the bow skills. So you're gonna pick up Hunter's Gambit, even though it does not benefit shattering steel at all, but you can still afford to do it because your damage is just so insane. You don't need any damage nodes. And then you go close to the Avatar of the Hunt. This is about level 31 to 33, where I'm going to transition and respec these 2 points, pick up Avatar of the Hunt, and I'm ready to roll. Now I'm just fully Toxic Rain prepared. We can go then pick up Fangs of the Viper, Entropy, and then just whatever you want as you're playing the Toxic Rain. This is going to be well into Act 4. So that's how the passive skill tree looks like. When it comes to Ascendancy, we're gonna pick up first the Inspirational. This is gonna increase the effect of our curses and make the Defiance banner free, which is gonna give us extra armor and evasion, and it's gonna give us more damage from the Malevolence curse effect. It's gonna give us more regen, life regen and mana regen from Vitality and Clarity. This is very, very good to pick up early on. Much better than picking up first Unstoppable Hero, which is gonna give me nothing, because I'm not gonna have Fortify until I do the Cruel Lab. And Normal Lab to Cruel Lab are much further apart than the Cruel Lab to Merciless Lab, because these are many more acts apart. They're like 5 acts apart or 6 acts apart instead of just being like 3 acts apart, right? So you want to pick up inspirational, and then these two are going to be much closer to each other when you do the second and third lab. Third lab which is much closer to the second one than the first one is to the second. So that's why we're picking inspirational first, and then we're going for unstoppable hero fortify. So that's it basically when it comes to the passive skill points. Of course, this is a subject to change for the new passive skill tree. But back to the game, you're gonna do the quest for the Quicksilver. You're gonna pick up your Onslaught, which you're gonna put together with the Splitting Steel and Chance to Bleed in your green, green, red. You're gonna pick up Dash and Ancestral Protector. If you have some spare currency, you can also put like Ruthless Support into your Ancestral Protector, and that's gonna give you some extra single target damage. Be on the lookout for the Iron Rings. Be on the lookout for Lapis Amulet. If you have it, for example, highlighted by your filter, that would be ideal. And also make sure you're buying War Banner from the vendor. War Banner is gonna give you some extra single target damage on bosses when you can drop it down, have the adrenaline for a second, and just do much more damage that way to bosses. It's gonna help your single target a lot, and it's gonna also help your accuracy at any point if you are slightly under leveled. So definitely that's what you want to go for. In other items, apart from the green, green, red and red, red, red links, you want to make sure that you have just a bunch of red and a few green sockets, and that's pretty much it. As you're progressing to the prison, you're gonna get another support gem, and you wanna pick up Maim and put that in your totem. That means the totem is gonna basically debuff the target, which is gonna take more physical damage, which is gonna make your main skill do more single target damage. As you are reaching level 9, you are going to be able to find another base for your main weapon, which is going to be Jade Chopper. So you can either find that off the ground or buy that from the vendor. If you're going to buy that from the vendor, it's likely going to cost a blacksmith whetstone. So make sure you always keep a blacksmith whetstone with you. It is super important to not sell the blacksmith whetstones immediately for wisdom scrolls. It might be tempting because you want to just slightly quicker buy an iron ring, but it's very likely that you're going to find some iron rings, but it's not that likely that you're gonna have a blacksmith whetstone exactly when you need it when a new weapon appears in the vendor, because once you level up, that weapon might disappear, and then you drop the blacksmith whetstone and you don't have it anymore. So always make sure you have one blacksmith whetstone at least at hand, and make sure you keep you save your transmutations as well, because you're gonna need a lot of transmutations. So pick up the magic items and rare items and only identify things that can potentially be an upgrade for you. So that would mean something that has really good links that you need, something that is a weapon that is rare and potentially can upgrade you, so a sword or an axe that can be an upgrade, that's like a good base for the level you're at. And also boots, because you might want to find movement speed if you don't have movement speed on the boots yet. Other than that, do not identify the items and just make sure that you sell them unidentified, which is going to give you enough transmutation shards. You're going to need like 5 to 6 transmutations for the transition to pick up all of the skills that you need. So definitely save your transmutations. Don't spend them because you're gonna regret this later. As you're killing Brutus, make sure to drop the War Banner. This is gonna increase your damage by a lot. You can basically melt him. I have the Jade Chopper here, so I have really good damage. I just dropped the totem. I have all the links that I need. Dropping the totem, adrenaline, hit him a few times, he dies very, very easy. After the Brutus, you're gonna be able to have your choice of your movement skills. You could pick up Leap Slam, which would speed you up a little bit, but only do that if you're swimming in transmutations. Otherwise, I prefer picking up Smoke Mine, because this is what I'm gonna be using after I switch to the bow as well. So I'm not wasting any transmutations, and I just picked that up. Then I pick up Vitality as well, which is gonna help me sustain my life on Merveil. It's gonna help me sustain my life if I wanna use Blood Rage, and it's gonna be good later on, as well as Clarity. And the reason why I pick up Clarity right now is because I might need it later, but it's gonna be higher level if I pick it up later. So I wanna buy it now at level 1, because I'm not gonna have too much mana to reserve higher level Clarity, so I wanna have it at lower level. That's why I'm picking it up very, very early. After that, you're basically gonna progress to Cavern of Wrath. You're gonna pick up your level 12 skill, which is gonna be Shattering Steel, and that's gonna replace the previous steel skill that you've been using. It's gonna do a lot more damage with one hit. You're basically gonna smack a pack and everything is gonna die. It's a really, really powerful skill that does insane damage. It's like by far the best leveling skill for melee or like pseudo melee that is in the game. It's very, very powerful, and you're gonna have it linked with Onslaught and with Chance to Bleed. And from that point on, you also want to look for a green 3-link. That is some armor piece, because it's gonna help you in Act 2 when you're going to replace the Chance to Bleed with vicious projectiles. But that's gonna be after you kill Weaver. So be on the lookout for green as well. After the Merivale, you should be around level 12 at least. That means you can find a Wood Splitter from the vendor. Wood Splitter is gonna be the highest damage base that you can pick up at this point, and ideally you wanna craft it as well. The way you craft weapons, the way you craft physical weapons is basically to have a Rustic Sash that is rare. You can basically buy a Rustic Sash from the vendor for a couple of Wisdom Scrolls, make it rare with any random essence that you have found, ideally something that is not useful to use. So if you found like minion damage or spell damage essence early on, you can save that, make the Rustic Sash rare, and then you sell it with the weapon and with the Blacksmith Whetstone to the vendor, and the vendor should give you back a weapon with increased physical damage. You can get like 60% increased physical damage. Roll on this and it's gonna increase your damage to the point where you're gonna be one-shotting everything. If you look at the footage and you see me hitting the Great White Beast, you'll see me just absolutely destroying it. I think I crit it with the first hit. Just absolutely crazy damage. In Act 2, then you're going to progress to the Chamber of Sins, and after that you're going to be able to pick up your Herald skills, which are going to be Herald of Purity and Herald of Ash. So ideally you want to be running those two Heralds as well as War Banner, and that's going to be the maximum damage that you can be doing at this point. When it comes to the bandits in Act 2, we are killing all of the bandits because we don't get that much benefit from helping a specific one. Alira is gonna give you crit, which does nothing, resistances, which you can fix with the gear, and mana, which would be nice now, but later on we don't care about it because we're gonna have minus mana crafts, and basically our Toxic Rain ideally will cost pretty much no mana or like 1 mana or something like that. So that's why we're gonna kill all of the bandits. As you're progressing through this act, you are going to eventually reach level 19, and at level 19 is where you can find from the vendors 2 stone rings. So ideally you wanna check vendors every time you're in town for the 2 stone rings and try to find 2 stone rings with 16 to both resistances. It's very easy to find actually. They're much more common than the single res rings with 30 with the max roll, because there is a smaller range that it can roll, and it's actually more resistances. It's 32 elemental resistances together. And then later on, once you have done the transition, once you know that you have like enough transmutations, you can just put some res craft on the bench on that, and it's gonna help you cap your resistances in Act 4 very, very easily. So be on a lookout for the 2 stone rings that have double 16 to your resistances. In Act 3, from the first quest that we're doing in the crematorium, the reward that you wanna pick up is Sniper's Mark, because we're using projectile attack, and that's gonna help you for your single target damage as well. It's going to help you kill Piety quicker and Dominus and so on. So this is very, very useful. Once you reach level 22, you're gonna be able to start looking for a double axe in the vendor. Double axe is the next base of the weapon after the wood splitter that you want to upgrade to. Once you upgrade to double axe, you're done basically with the melee weapons. You can craft it with rare rustic sash and a blacksmith whetstone as well. This is very, very good to do, and it will carry you until Act 4, and there is nothing else that you're gonna need to do. So after the double axe, you're looking for a bow basically. That's where you're looking for a bow, and also from level 24 you're looking for 4 links. So the 4 links ideally that you would like to have is gonna be 4 green and then 3 green and 1 red. If you find the 3 green and 1 red and it's not on a bow, you can equip it right away and you can use your main skill in it, which is gonna be Shattering Steel with Vicious Projectiles and Onslaught, and in the red socket you can put the Chance to Bleed, and if you have extra currency you can also put the Added Fire Damage. Added Fire Damage is gonna be the most damage that you can have at this point. So progressing through Act 3, you want to basically rush to the library. So as soon as you get to the Ebony Barracks, you want to head to the right and go into the library. You might be a little bit under leveled for that, so make sure that you have solid cold resistance. You can get like, maybe if you had a sapphire ring saved from Merveil, make sure you equip that so that you have cold resistance and don't get frozen and destroyed in the library. But we want to do library as soon as possible so that we can pick up the missing gems and level them in our offhand, because we want to transition as soon as possible to play with our desired skill. So as we do the library, we want to make sure that we have 2 transmutations, 2 alterations, and an orb of chance, I think, because we're going to be picking up 5 skill gems. We're going to be picking up 2 void manipulations, 1 swift affliction, despair, and malevolence. Those are the 5 gems. So 2 void manipulations, swift affliction, despair, malevolence. After that, you can head also to Act 1 and pick up your Toxic Rain and Caustic Arrow, and you can level them in your offhand because they're going to be slightly higher level if you do it that way than if you just purchase them right before transition, because they're slightly lower XP if they are in the vendor window still. But you're still going to continue with the Shattering Steel until Act 4. So just progress through Act 3, kill Piety, kill Dominus, and then go to Act 4 and do the lab. Ideally, you want to do the lab before switching, because you're going to have slightly better damage, I think, with the Shattering Steel, even though it's still not a great single target skill. But you want to transition somewhere around like level 32, 33, something like that. So for some people, this will be before the lab. For some people, this will be after the lab. But it's totally fine either way. Also, by the way, in Act 3, you don't need to kill Gravicious, so you skip that completely because we don't need any skill gems from him. In the lab, I already said you want to pick up the node that gives you the increased effect of non-curse auras, and also banner skills have no reservation, so the inspirational node. And if you want to transition, you're going to go to Act 1 and pick up also Withering Step and Ballista Totem support. And you're gonna go to Act 2 and pick up Defiance Banner and Vicious Projectiles, and that's gonna be basically everything that you're gonna need. Ideally, you wanna transition when you have double 4-link, but it can be also like 1 3-link, 1 4-link. It's still gonna be fine. And the ideal setup, the setup that's gonna be the fastest clear, the fastest progression for you, is gonna be ideally the green 4-link, which is gonna have Caustic Arrow, Void Manipulation, Vicious Projectiles, and Swift Affliction. And then you're going to have a single target setup with Ballista Totem support that's going to have Toxic Rain, Vicious Projectiles, and Void Manipulation. This is the superior setup. I have tried different ones. I have tried them at different stages of leveling. This is by far the best. If you're going to run with Toxic Rain, if your main hand, you're going to spend way too much time casting it, and you're going to have to cast 2 or 3 times in order to clear most packs, instead of just casting it 1 time with Caustic Arrow and just running. Caustic Arrow is much faster for leveling than Toxic Rain until you reach pretty much maps. You're gonna have like a 5-link, you're gonna have Quill Rain, and it's gonna be much faster, and then Toxic Rain at that point is gonna be better with like Focused Ballista support. But I have tried the Focused Ballista approach together with the Toxic Rain self-cast, and it is not good during leveling. It only gives you like 10 to 20% more single target damage, but it also slows you down so much during the clear that it's definitely not worth it. So I definitely recommend sticking to the Caustic Arrow. From level 35, I think you can find or 36, you can find a Grove Bow, and you can find also a Piercing Arrow Quiver. So you want to make sure that your loot filter highlights the Piercing Arrow Quiver, because that's going to give you double pierce. You're going to have pierce from your passive skill tree, and you're going to have another pierce from the quiver, and that's going to basically increase the AoE of your Caustic Arrow massively. And the clear is just super quick and easy. For single target, you want to make sure that you're dropping 3 ballistas, you're dropping your Caustic Arrow debuff, and then you're cursing the target with Despair and using Withering Step. All of that together allows you to have decent single target damage and very, very quick clear. And basically you progress from that point on as if you were playing just a regular Toxic Rain build. So hopefully this helps you if you wanna pick up the loot filter that is perfectly suited for this type of leveling, that has all of the bases and everything highlighted on it. You can check out my Patreon, link is in the description. You just check out the tiers. One of them basically grants you access to all the loot filters that I have, so you can check that out if you're interested. Otherwise, you can just make your own loot filter. I recommend using filterblade.xyz for editing your filters. It's very nice, and I definitely recommend picking up your loot filters from there as well if you're interested in just any generic loot filters. So hopefully this is helpful to you guys. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.